Hi everyone, it's Eleanor again. This is my December 2016 book haul. As you can probably tell if I try and lift up the pile, it's a rather large haul again, although not quite as large as some of the ones I've had recently. I do have hopes to keep the book hauls down to size a little bit for 2017, but we will see how we go. So the first book that I bought, and the only digital one that I bought in December, was using my Audible credit, and I bought the audiobook version of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, narrated by Stephen Fry. I haven't started it yet, but it seemed like a good choice for some rereading. I haven't reread Harry Potter in a while, and I quite like Stephen Fry, so I'm looking forward to listening to him read Harry Potter and see how it goes. I've heard it's very, very good. So next on the pile was one that I've already spoken about on this channel because it was part of my very first Outcrate book, and that is The Fire and Stars. This is by Audrey Couldthurst, and this came in the December Outcrate. From what I understand, it's a sort of a twist on the fairy tale tropes of the princess. The main character is engaged to a prince in a neighbouring country. She arrives to meet her betrothed, and not only does she have magic that this new country does not approve of, but she meets her betrothed's sister and starts falling in love with said sister. So it's a bit of a fairy tale lesbian romance, which I'm actually quite keen on reading. So I'm looking forward to that. Then we have my Christmas presents. There are the two that I was given by my family. One is The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula LeGuin. My parents gave me this, although I didn't actually get it on Christmas Day. The delivery hadn't arrived yet, so I had to wait for a few days. But it was on my book depository wish list, so Dad picked it up because he's read some Ursula Le Guin. I have never read Ursula Le Guin, but I've heard really good things about this one. And I believe it won both the Hugo and Nebula Awards. And it's a science fiction where there's an Earth-like planet where all the inhabitants are of the same sex, and so it deals with gender and all that kind of thing. I'm really not sure a lot about what it's about, but you know, it's science fiction and gender, and it's by Ursula Le Guin, so it should be really good. Now, my youngest brother could not figure out how to access my wish list, but I think I sent him the wrong link, so that's okay. But he made a good choice anyway. He bought me Romeo and Juliet by Ryan North. I'd actually heard of this book elsewhere on BookTube. And also Ryan North, I believe, is the current writer on The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, which I read the first volume of and really enjoyed. So this is the classic Shakespeare story, except it's choose your own adventure, and there are a lot of options. So the back starts off by saying, what if Romeo never met Juliet? What if Juliet got really buff instead of moping around the castle all day? What if they teamed up to take over Verona with robot suits? So this sounds really up my alley. It sounds science fiction-y and Shakespeare and Choose Your Own Adventure, which I haven't read a Choose Your Own Adventure in a very long time. So that should be fun. Then this particular Christmas present I didn't actually receive until I got back and got my package from my best friend, Yannicka. And this is the Doctor Who, the official cookbook. So I was quite gleeful to see this. I'm not sure how many of the recipes I will actually make, because a lot of them seem to be quite fiddly, and it's particularly all the baking, and a lot of them I won't be able to eat because I'm a vegetarian, but I still really like having it, and I still like looking at the pictures, and at some point when I've got the time and energy, I will try out something at the very least, just because I can, because it's fun. Maybe I should pick a recipe, an easy recipe to try for my birthday. That'd be kind of cool. But yes, so that's the official Doctor Who cookbook by Joanna Farrow. Then the rest of my book haul, as you will have probably seen from my video that I posted the other day on Monday, I did a bookshop crawl when I was in Hobart over 4 hours, including lunch. I visited 6 Hobart bookshops and I bought 11 books. So it's a bit of an eclectic group of books. I'm quite pleased with some of the things I found, and I managed to tick a few more things off my official book depository wish list, as well as and my sort of mental I'd quite like to read that list. So the first one that I have here is called Dared and Done by Julia Markus, The Marriage of Elizabeth Barrett and Robert Browning. I read some of Elizabeth Barrett Browning's poetry for my English class last summer, so I think I read her poetry in December 2015 and I really enjoyed it. I've been searching for an actual volume of her poetry, not just like printed out copies, and haven't been able to find it. And in fact, during my book crawl, I was getting more and more enraged that I kept finding Robert Browning but no Elizabeth Barrett Browning. But this was actually in the first bookshop that I went to, which was a secondhand place in Salamanca, and it's non-fiction and it's the story of their marriage, which sounds kind of interesting. The back says, defying her tyrannical father and despite poor health, Elizabeth Barrett married Robert Browning in 1846 after an intense courtship, and they spent the next 15 years in Italy until her death. Julia Markus perceptively chronicles this extraordinary union, drawing on copious correspondence, including many of Elizabeth's hitherto unpublished letters. So that sounds like it would be a really interesting piece of non-fiction. And the next 2 that I picked up, I was really pleased to find. I have been reading, my parents gave me two Dymocks $50 book gift cards, one for Christmas and one for my birthday, which is in January. So I spent one of them at the Dymocks in Hobart, and 2 of those books that I picked up were Pocket Apocalypse and Chaos Choreography by Seanan and McGuire. These are books 4 and 5 in the Encrypted series, I believe, something like that. I've read the first 3 on ebook, and then when I finished the 3rd one, Half Off Ragnarok, I went immediately looking for the 4th one, and it was not yet on the Australian Kindle store, despite the fact that both of these books had actually been published in America. So I was really excited to actually see the 2 of them in hard copy, particularly as Seanan is going to be the guest of honour at the National Science Fiction Convention in Australia this year in 2017, which I plan to go to. So the Encrypted series is a series of books, each one focusing on various different members of a family of cryptozoologists. They are cryptozoologists in secret because they believe in studying sort of supernatural creatures, encryptids as they're called, rather than exterminating them, which is why they're in hiding, because there is another group who is dedicated to, who their family used to be part of, and they are dedicated to exterminating all non-human and non-regular animal creatures. So yeah, it's adventure, it's magic, it's quirkiness, and it's the Aislinn mice. This series, the family has a dedicated group of talking mice who treats them as religious figures, and I love them, they're hilarious, I keep giggling. So that's Pocket Apocalypse and Chaos Choreography. So yeah, looking forward to getting a chance to pick both of those up. Another one that I picked up was Ruddy Gore by Kerry Greenwood. This is the next Franny Fisher mystery that I've seen 2 seasons and a few episodes of the 3 seasons of season 3 of the TV show, and I'm very slowly actually working my way through the actual books in order. And so I've been looking for Ruddy Gore, which is the next one on my list, for a while, because it hasn't been in my bookshop here in Canberra. So I was really glad to find a copy. I think I found this one at Cracked and Spineless, which I had heaps of recommendations for, which is a bookshop, a sort of both new and secondhand bookshop, and it was described to me in another bookshop as the Black Books of Hobart. So, you know, I could have spent hours there, but at that point I was getting quite tired and my mum was waiting for me. So Next time I go down to Hobart, I might see if I can actually spend a couple of hours in that bookshop just browsing. Anyway, so that is a nice little cozy crime mystery. And then I also picked up at, when did I pick this one up? I think at Dymocks? Yes, at Dymocks. So this was the other one that I bought with my Christmas gift card. Just off the other side. I totally spent my birthday gift card today. I'll talk about that in my January haul. But this is Sorcerer to the Crown by Zen Cho. I've kind of had my eye on this book for a while. I've heard really good things about it. It's a Regency novel, but with magic and all sorts of like colour and gender type stuff as well. In Regency London, Zachariah's wife is England's first African sorcerer royal, but how can he enjoy his position when a faction schemes to remove him? He's also haunted by his dead mentor, and the fairy court is refusing to supply England with magic. Just what when the government demands it for their blasted French war. Ambitious orphan Prunella is determined to escape a life of drudgery, so when the beleaguered sorcerer royal visits the school where she works, she seizes her opportunity. Prunella stumbled upon the greatest magical discovery in centuries, and intends to use it. The last thing Zacharias needs is a female magical prodigy, but together they could change sorcery forever. So it's Regency, it's magic, and it's diverse protagonists, so a woman and a man of colour in a Regency setting, so it should be really interesting. I'm actually really looking forward to this one. Then again, I'm looking forward to everything, otherwise I wouldn't buy them. The other one, this is a complete whim. I picked up Maya Angelou, The Complete Poetry. I know that she passed away recently. I can't quite remember if it was this year or last year, but she is one of the most well-known African-American female poets. And I've been kind of picking up a bit of poetry here and there. I haven't read much yet, but she's definitely a poet that I would like to read. So when I saw it, I definitely picked it up in this pretty hardcover edition. So yeah, that's going to be interesting and probably quite moving. I hope quite moving. Now this one I had to pick up because of what happened last week, the death of Carrie Fisher. I was like, right, I need to pick up one of her books, and this is her most recent one, The Princess Diarist. She found somewhere recently her journals and diaries from when she was filming Star Wars, and so she's published them. This may sit on my TBR for a little while because I'm probably a little bit too fragile to read it at the moment. Of all the artists that left this world in 2016, Carrie was the one that hurt because she was such a part of my childhood as Princess Leia, not only on screen, but Princess Leia in the books as well. So I really want to read this, but it might have to wait until I'm in a proper state. Only a few more left. This is We Who Are About To by Joanna Russ. I have not yet read any Joanna Russ. I have The Female Man sitting on my TBR, but this is a much, obviously, shorter book. I think it's one of her novellas. And it's basically a crashed spaceship. They're stranded on a planet. There are 5 females and female passengers, and somehow a discussion goes, oh, we're going to have to repopulate humanity, and one woman says no. So, as I would expect from Joanna Russ, an exploration of gender on another planet and the idea of repopulating the species should be really interesting, and a really quick read too. And this was a complete whim, but I saw it in a couple of shops and then just couldn't resist it. This is Contemporary Australian Feminist Poetry, edited by Bonny, Cassidy and Jessica L. Wilkinson. I've got no idea if I like contemporary Australian poetry, but it's Australian and it's feminist, and it's also really short. It was published in 2016, so it's all really up to date. So, you know, I thought it would be worth it because I grabbed it, you know, because most of the poets that I'm thinking about reading and that I'm buying are older poets, so worth checking out, I think, some of the more contemporary Australian poets. This I was really pleased to find. This is My People by Oodgeroo of the Nunkanal Nation. Oodgeroo used to be known as Kath Walker, but she's an Indigenous Australian writer, first published in the 1960s. She's much passed away now, but I have a book by her that I was given as a very small child, which is a mixture of a collection of autobiographical short stories from her life as a child on Stradbroke Island, as well as Aboriginal Dreamtime stories. And so I really wanted to get hold of some of her poetry, and this volume has been on my book depository wish list, and I really wanted to check it out. So yeah, I'm really pleased to have found this and purchased it. So again, it's a very small volume, but I think it's a really important volume of Indigenous poetry. So I'm really intrigued to read this. And finally, another one of my complete whims is Speeches That Define the World by Alan J. Whittaker. So this is a collection of speeches, mostly from the 20th century to the present day, that have shaped and changed the world and helped define the world. I did check, and Alan J. Whittaker is an Australian. I did wonder, because there are actually 3 Australian speeches in this, and they are my 3 favourite political speeches from Australia. They have Gough Whitlam's God Save the Queen speech, they have Kevin Rudd's Apology to the Stolen Generation, and of course Julia Gillard's Misogyny speech, which I love. But it's got all sorts of speeches from the 20th and 21st century. You can see it's got Martin Luther King, it's got Gandhi, it's got Malala, it's got various presidents and prime ministers. I think there's a Margaret Thatcher speech in there, as well as Winston Churchill, Nelson Mandela. I think this is going to be a really fun one to dip in and out of and read those famous speeches that I'm aware of. Most of them I am aware of them, but I've probably never read the full text. I might know a line here or there. And then there are probably some speeches that I've never actually heard of as well. So I think this could be really interesting to have a look at, the speeches that defined our world for over a century. And maybe some political reading that is not quite so depressing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to probably dip in and out of this one. And so yeah, that was my December book haul. Hopefully my future book hauls will be a bit shorter. I'm going to try and curb my buying this year as part of Read My Own Damn Books. But yeah, so that's my 2016 book hauls all done. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you've read any of those books. Let me know if you think there's a particular one I should read very soon. And I look forward to talking books with you all, and I will see you again soon. Bye.